I know you're not usually with me when I film, are you? Is the hood throwing you off? But you're a little dinosaur. Little dinosaur. Little dinosaur. Hello and welcome, ladies. If this is your first time here, welcome to The Journey. This is a channel where I make videos about infertility, IVF, adoption, and parenting. My name is JAKS and this is little baby Evangeline, who we adopted this year. Say hello. Yeah. We'll see how long she sticks around for this video. But I put out the call on my Instagram for questions around adoption and little baby Evangeline. So if you want to follow me there to catch the next time that I ask for questions, go ahead and follow me here. So I wanted to take some time, answer the questions that I got, and say thank you to everyone who responded. It has been a bit of a month. You'll probably hear her wheezing and coughing a little bit. Everyone has been sick with the flu and then a really nasty cold, so I appreciate all your grace and some videos that came out a day or two late. All right, let's jump in. The first question I got was, what did you do while you were waiting to get home study approved? And the answer is everything. I kept extremely busy. I had also put off buying anything for the nursery. I said we had to wait until at least our part of the home study was done. So as soon as we got all of our to-dos done, then we got stuff for the nursery, and I put a lot of effort into getting our profile book done. And if you want to look at, hey, what's the matter? Our profile book was great. If you want to see how our profile book turned out, I'll go ahead and link it up above, and I go through kind of everything that we did and some of the tips and tricks that I found while I was researching what to put in and what not to put in. But yeah, you can go check that out if you want. I'm distracted by her in the viewfinder. Goodness. The next question is, what agency did we use? I talked about this a little bit. We were debating between a huge national adoption agency and then a local state one. We eventually went with our local state one that services Kansas. If you're in the Kansas area and you want to know what agency that we use, you can hit me up on a DM on Instagram, or you can hit up the KC Foster and Adopt Facebook group that I will link down below as well. And I'm more than happy to share with you what agency we chose and why, and some of the more specifics on that one. In the end, you should research quite a few agencies. Like I said, we had a bunch of questions that we asked. I will link that up above as well. And between kind of just comparing how we felt and the answers to all their questions, we were able to choose an adoption agency that we felt comfortable with and liked. The next question I got on Instagram was, when did you communicate with the hospital to know what the day of procedure was going to be like? If you watched our birth vlog, then you know that we had our own room in the hospital, and we were told the general procedure in the weeks leading up to the adoption. Our social worker actually communicated with the hospital to know what we needed to do, when we needed to arrive, and who we spoke to get our room. Technically, we weren't checked into the hospital, we were just guests, but we were guests that were allowed to stay there overnight and obviously got our own room. What were the most challenging parts to adoption? First, I think it was just the decision to adopt. It's a big deal to kind of step away from bio kids and that idea and just start grappling with the realities of adoption, some of which are ongoing and some of which have actually like turned around. Some of the fears have turned around. Like, one of the things you kind of have to come to terms with is that, you know, your adopted child's probably not gonna look like you, might not look like you, and that's kind of a fear in the beginning. And now I'm just like really excited because it's a total mystery. I'm really excited to see what she ends up looking like and see her gorgeous red hair come in and see if her eyes stay blue and all of that. It's kind of like an exciting game now to see how she ends up looking and how tall she's gonna be, and just all those little things that maybe you had a hint of what they were gonna be if, you know, they were your bio kids, but are a big surprise to us now. Past that, I think it's just all the unknowns, like having to stay really, really flexible, having to, you know, face disappointments of being shown and not chosen and adoptions not happening. And thankfully we didn't have to experience a disruption or anything, but you can watch the adoption story to kind of see that there was some hard moments where I considered stepping away from adoption, and it is certainly not an easier road than fertility treatments, and it's just a whole different kind of battle. So I think that bit was kind of the most exciting and exhilarating and hopeful, but really, really hard. And then I think finally, I know this is a very long, what's the most challenging parts of adoption? I think it is just knowing the situation that that got us here. Everybody's situation with their, you know, their child's birth family and their child is different, but there are certainly aspects of every story that are just hard. And sometimes, you know, when I'm just filled with joy to have her and to get to parent her, it just strikes me that there was a lot of sadness that brought us to this moment. So I'm overjoyed to have her and humbled to parent her, but always aware that there's just more people in this equation than just us, huh? Yeah, there's your wonderful birth mom too. The next question was, how did bonding go? And I think it went pretty well, don't you think, little munchkin butt? You're so cute. Sorry, I'm freaking out, she's adorable. All right, she needed one more nap for the day and was not gonna wait until I was done filming this video. So we're back at it. Let's see. Oh, how did bonding go? Bonding went just fine. Absolutely adored her. Second I got to, you know, hold her. It was something I was a little bit worried about, since obviously we didn't have any of the attachment of a mother that was pregnant and, you know, familiar smells and sounds and all of that. But it only took a little while before she clearly knew my voice and the husband's voice and responded to that, you know, being comforted when we were around and we were holding her. So I really wouldn't worry about that. Bonding's been, you know, going great overall. This is the last adoption question before we get into more parenting Evangeline questions. Are we going to adopt again? It was a question our social workers asked, it was a question other people asked too, and the answer is probably not. If you're unfamiliar with our story, we have 3 embryos, genetically normal embryos that are on ice right now from our IVF retrieval almost a full year ago. So it's weird to think that those embryos are almost a year old. Anyway, so that's going to be our next step. We are trying to figure out when that would be, so we're not holding back any secrets. We don't know when a transfer is going to be either, but we are going to work our way through those 3 embryos. As it stands right now, if something were to go wrong, kind of roll the dice and lose, as with those embryos not implanting or anything like that, then we would probably go to adoption again versus doing like another IVF cycle. That's the very loose plan right now. We do plan to go through all 3 embryos. 4 kids is scary, but there's only a 60% chance of a genetically normal embryo ending in a live birth. So there's not that great a chance. I actually did the math. There's a 21% chance that all 3 embryos would implant and end up being born. So there's an 80% chance not. But as it stands right now, I think the only way we would go back to adoption is if none of those embryos took. But that's a very rough plan right now. On to some parenting questions. What's the greatest challenge in becoming a new mom? I think it is just the massive learning curve. I don't want to jinx myself because I know it's a whole different ballgame with child number 2, but I think at least the basics of taking care of a baby are something that would make me feel better going into child number 2. It's gonna be a whole different ballgame because then I'll probably be postpartum and then we'll have a toddler, or oh gosh, that's a little stressful to think about. But I think it's just the very basics. Like, I'm the youngest of my siblings and I didn't really interact with a lot of babies growing up, and I didn't ever really nanny babies. I was nannied like school age kids. So the greatest challenge was just like the basics of getting them to sleep and getting them to eat and happy, and what do you do with the baby, and besides look at how adorable they are. Those kind of things were something that I definitely had to learn and were challenging. But other than that, I think and that was a challenge, but I felt better every single week. Like I felt like I was gaining knowledge and getting better at this whole parenting thing. So if you're in the midst of that first few weeks and you're like, what on earth is going on, that does get better. And I actually found quite a few books really helpful. They're down in my Amazon list down below if you want to look at the 2 that I found most helpful. I read like 6-7 different parenting books, and those 2 were definitely the ones that I found the most helpful. So you can check them down below. How has your husband adapted to being a new dad? Pretty well, I think so. I certainly find it really adorable. I always knew he was going to be a good dad. I think caring for other little living creatures is one of his strong suits, so he's adapted pretty well. I think the one thing he has had to get used to is like looking stuff up. Like I don't have all of the answers. I think going through like all the infertility stuff and the like new baby stuff, I was incredibly well read, and now that she's getting a little bit older, into 4 months, I answer I don't know a lot, and so he has definitely had to adapt to like looking things up on his own and like coming up with a strategy or finding out what's normal, which is good because we kind of need to tag team the whole like parenting thing. But that's the only thing that I think he's really needed to adapt to. Otherwise he's done really well. And the final question for this Q&A, because it's getting a little long, is what is Evangeline's personality like? And I would have to say she is very expressive. If she is happy, she is smiling and giggling and happy, and if she is angry, she is all the way angry. There is no in between with this girl. There's no like hunger cues or sleep cues. Like she is 100% ready for a nap, 100% ready for a bottle, or 100% happy. Like there's no like phasing in and out of those things. But in the last month she has been so smiley and starting to giggle, and that has just been so exciting to get to see, and I'm loving every moment of that. And I'm definitely enjoying the fact that she's getting away from that baby stage where it's just sleep, eat, you know, kind of repeat. We're starting to play and get to, you know, get toys and books and interact with her more. I'm loving that, and she certainly loves being around people. She loves being out and about and looking all around. She is not so keen on the outdoors, but to be fair, it's December in Kansas, so it's cold. No one's really into it. But we'll see. I'm excited for spring to roll around too, so that she gets to be outside when it's more pleasant. Anyway, thank you again for everyone who submitted questions. Again, you can find my Instagram here, and until next time, ladies, keep on fighting.